Hey everybody, welcome back to Canada's Boxing Channel, and welcome to another week, I suppose. Hope everyone's doing well, and hopefully you've enjoyed the international collaborations I've done over the last couple of days with James from Porky's Corner fame, and with Andy from Andy's Cavern. So if you've not subscribed to Andy's Cavern, please do. And of course, if you've not subscribed to Porky's Corner, you're really missing out. Please go and subscribe to and listen to Russ tell it how it is. I saw a really good interview earlier on today from a channel called All Out Fighting, a big channel with lots and lots of subscribers. I mean, like 70, 80,000 subscribers. And the fellow who didn't appear on camera, I don't know who the fellow was, he was interviewing Chris Eubank Jr. And I have to say, the more I watch Chris Eubank Jr. being interviewed, the more I'm actually liking this guy. He's a very composed fellow, and like I've said before, very mature. And he doesn't, he's really the polar opposite to young Conor Benn. And he was being asked about, a number of things, but he was being asked, for example, about how long had he planned to slap Conor Benn across the face with the egg, the famous, egg gate incident that's now cost Chris Eubank Jr. £100,000, so I understand that's being appealed. And he gave a somewhat surprising answer. He said he'd planned it for 2.5 years. He said, I always knew when I had an opportunity, I was going to plant one on the side of his face. And he said that, when he first heard Conor Benn use eggs, or the consumption of eggs, as a possible excuse for the clomiphene being in his system, he just put it away in the back of his head and thought, one day I'm going to be able to do this. So there's premeditated, and then there's really premeditated. So you could say it was an egg that was a long time in the cooking. He said also that the egg was a symbol. It was an egg of justice, and that's an exact quote. To let everyone know, if you cheat, you will get embarrassed and made an example of. Well, he certainly embarrassed Conor Benn, and he certainly sold the fight. I mean, people like me have been thinking it was all a setup. Though the more I listen to this, I'm sort of, revising my thinking maybe a little bit. And the interviewer asked a very obvious question, which nobody else had asked. Was there any trouble with the egg cracking or egg breaking? And Conor Benn actually then alluded to the fact that he was carrying more than one egg. He said there was an egg in his back pocket that broke, but that the leather of his very expensive Louis Vuitton leather jacket preserved the integrity of the other egg. So he clearly came with sufficient ammunition to be able to carry out his mission. Like any good soldier, he had a second or third magazine, I suppose. And of course, it was so that would explain, of course, why he was wearing this big, massive coat, Louis Vuitton, no less. I didn't even know Louis Vuitton made clothing. I thought they just made bags. Shows what I know about fashion, doesn't it? So he was also asked about, is fighting Conor Benn not in a way, these are my words, of course, supporting him? That, you think he's a cheat, but you're fighting him and you're giving him a big payday. And that's something that some people have commented upon in previous videos. And he said, excuse me, I got my notes here to try and be reasonably accurate in my quoting here. If it's not me, it's someone else. So knowing that he's not going to so knowing that he, Chris Eubank, isn't going to deny himself the financial opportunity, and he isn't going to deny himself the opportunity to take part in a historical fight. Sort of, well, look, Chris Eubank's going to go and fight somebody. He's going to get paid, so I may as well be that guy so I can get paid. I can take part in what would be a historical fight, And he also said that it would give the fans the fight that they've all been clamoring for. I'm not sure about that last bit, but maybe because I live so far away, I'm just not. There's no vibe here for this fight at all. Like, there's no interest in people I talk to at all about this fight. But to be fair, I don't live in the UK, and maybe people who do live there, they will, correct me and say yes, there is some sort of groundswell. I know not amongst real hardcores, but maybe, in your local pub, there's this vibe. And again, let me know in the comments section. He was asked about why is it that he really tries to limit Eddie Hearn's involvement? And we've all noticed that whenever Eubank is talking and Hearn is present, he's like, shut up. Don't want to hear you. Be quiet. And he said, Eddie is a greedy promoter who I've no time for. He's constantly disrespected me. And then he went on to say that he'd blocked him in certain fights. So maybe there were fights that were arranged where Hearn had come in and kiboshed it. He didn't really expand upon that. So that's just me speculating that that's what he meant. And then he said he has no right to speak at any of my press conferences or when I'm around. I think we knew that. I think we understand that when Chris Eubank is present, he would prefer Eddie Hearn to not speak. Asked again about whether or not Chris Eubank had, Conor Benn had cheated in 2022. He was absolutely unequivocal in his answer. Yes, absolutely. He was also asked, would he like to see the documentation that Conor Benn had used to convince people to allow him to fight again? And he said he'd like to, but he also understands that what he would like is it's not realistic for him to be able to expect that, really. He said that he'd also spoken to his father recently, and that's one of the things that Piers Morgan was pressing him on in that, in my view, very biased interview that Piers Morgan conducted of Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr., where he was, in my view, clearly favouring Conor Benn, but he was pressing Chris Eubank Jr. on his relationship with his father. This interviewer asked him a much more straightforward and somewhat sort of even balanced kind of question, and he said that he actually had spoken to his father at the Harlem Eubank fights, and it wasn't prearranged, but he decided to go to watch the Harlem Eubank fights, and he met his father and spoke to his father, and he sort of expanded upon that a little bit, and he said that he'd always trusted his father to look after his business and things like that, but he realizes as he's grown that this is best looked after by himself. And it struck me as one of those classic cases where, I mean, if you've got kids, no matter how old your kids are, you always think of your kids as kids, right? As children. They're fixed forever in your mind as being kids. And he was sort of suggesting that that's like the relationship between him and his father. And, his father is very protective, doesn't want him, for example, to fight this fight due to weight classes and rehydration clauses. And Chris Eubank Jr. was saying, yeah, but I'm a grown man now. Like, I'm 35 years of age. And I remember, probably we all remember these things or know these things, that in the eyes of our mums and dads, we're always some sort of, preteen or something, even if you are in your 40s or 50s, right? So that was an interesting little pulling back the curtain, if you like. And he said he hopes to build upon that. It's clear that he would like to have a relationship with his father. He also was clear that he would like his father to be present at this upcoming fight in April. But of course, he can't make that happen. He was just hopeful. So it was a very good interview. And like I say, I am warming to Chris Eubank Jr. because of his deportment, his seemingly mental toughness, his composure, And quite frankly, of course, I'm also smiling every time he takes a verbal jab at the boxing establishment and, you know, the Warrens and the Hearns, etc. I think, like most fans, I find that amusing and possibly very well deserved. Anyhow, there we go. That's all I've got. So, the egg of justice. If you like this video, please like. Please subscribe. It's totally free to subscribe. Somebody the other day asked, does it cost any money to subscribe? And I'm like, oh, good heavens, no. It's totally free. You've just got to click that little button on the screen. And spread the word about Canada's boxing channel. Thank you so much. Have a fabulous day. Cheers. Bye-bye.